Welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by our channel. I hope that the Lord blesses you through the message. My name is Derek, and I get to serve as the pastor of student ministries here at Hopewell Church. Our student ministries is called Fusion. We meet once a week on Wednesdays from 6:30 to 8:30. If you'd like more information, please feel free to check out hopewellchurch.org. I hope you enjoy the message.
Thank you for having me tonight. Yeah, I do a lot of stuff here. Just instead of hearing my voice on a Sunday morning for like a minute, Derek asked me to come and speak in the flesh. So see how that goes. So yeah, one day Derek popped into my office with a creative question, and you guys may know he's not a very creative person, so he always has to come to me when he has ideas. And so he mentioned to me that he was gearing up for a new series on being a Christian in college and what that can look like. And he told me that he's going to be pulling a lot from this book called 10 Things Every Christian Should Know for college. And my understanding is that he has like some copies available if you're interested in learn some of this stuff. And, tonight I'm going to be speaking mostly on just like testimony in college, as I had there, and what the book says about being a Christian in college. So yeah, and Derek asked me if I wanted to be a guest speaker, and I mean, I was just being nice when I said, yeah, I'll be a guest speaker if you want me to, not thinking he would actually ask me to come and do it. So I only agreed, hoping I could bomb so hard enough and back again, you know? But no, I'm excited to be here. It's going to be a pretty relaxed night, so just settle in for mostly story time. But to my time in college, just some background on my faith and like how I became a Christian and growing up. So I grew up in a semi-Christian home, and it was mostly just going to church on a Sunday morning, not much more than that. And my parents split, and my mom and I moved to Birdsboro. And around fifth grade, my cousin was going to a youth group, Action Impact, down the road. You may have heard of it. And she was telling my mom about it, what it meant to her. I was kind of coming with me because I was a really shy kid at that time. I did not talk a lot. I really struggled to give presentations in elementary school and middle school. So my mom was kind of hoping this could, push me forward a little bit. And when I was like really young, I actually had to go to speech therapy classes just because I just flat out refused to talk. And I don't really remember that. I was young. And I mean, I don't know, look at me now. I went to college and became a communications major, and public speaking, was a big part of that. I mean, not just for comms majors. Everyone has to take public speaking classes in college. But because of my major, I ended up having to like do a lot of presentations, and I also took a lot of classes that I had to give presentations for. And, I didn't see that coming. And at the same time, I'm a radio DJ. But, in that instance, I'm talking into a microphone in an empty room to a wall. And here I am in front of a bunch of high schoolers tonight, so a little bit different. So the first time I went to Action, it was their Easter egg hunt. And, had a blast. It was a good time. And then I started attending the youth group on a Friday night. And, from fifth grade all the way through graduating high school, I was there like every week, every weekend retreat, every summer trip, kids camps, all-nighters, mission trips, just like anything. And 8 years of my life building the foundation of my faith. And huge verse, actually just realized it's on the wall over there, 1 Timothy 4:12. Don't because you're young, but example for the believers in speech, conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. And something about that verse just really spoke to me as a middle school and high schooler, just that, little teenage me could be competent enough, or like I could share in such an intelligent way and people could like connect with it. I just felt like I could actually be called to something more. Year quick, and see a big part about the next step, which for me was college. And at that time, I originally wanted to go to Lancaster, this new creative media arts department that just opened up, which kind of interested me. I wanted to go into like movies and video editing and like creative works. And at that time, I also thought about maybe being a pastor too. And my mom and I had a lot of arguments about Lancaster Bible College. We did not really see eye to eye on that at all. She wanted me to kind of get out of my Christian bubble. She just wanted me to see like different parts of the world and different viewpoints. And, the cost of a Christian college was a big factor too. And the thing is when a parent is involved in the finances, i.e., paying for a large part of your college, they have a large say in where you end up going, go figure. So eventually, I decided to go to Millersville, which is just a little bit like Lancaster, and it's mostly known for being a teaching school. So, a lot of teachers go there and come out. And during my senior year of high school, I had a lot of conversations with my youth pastor and mentor, Dave Purcell, at Action. And one conversation I had was that you just got to get plugged into a support group up there, to get plugged into a community of Christians that can continue to encourage your faith, and you can encourage others too. And really, like, that was to me the most important. Like, getting ready to go to, like, I got to get plugged in right away. I need to make friends. I need to make people to hold me accountable. So, and freshmen typically move on to campus a week early for orientation, with like, going down. But during orientation week, there's like a group there where all the campus kind of set up in a central location, and you can go and see who's there, like dance clubs, music clubs, sports clubs, all those different types of things, as well as campus ministries. So I'm checking out the different groups, and I come up to this one for college ministry called Navigators. And I still remember this day, Jesse Jones and Rachel Bakke were manning the table. And so I go up and I talk to them, and they're telling me all about NAVs, where they meet, what they're about, when they meet, how to get involved. And I was like, cool, I'll see you Thursday night. And then I just didn't talk to any other college ministry because I was still a pretty shy freshman, and that was all my energy for the day of socialness. So I didn't talk to anyone else, and I just showed up to NAV night, and from there I just got plugged into NAVs, just like youth group, student leadership, worship team, weekend retreats. I led a Bible study with my roommate. And during that time, a verse that was very important to me was 2 Timothy 2:22, which says, flee the evil desires of youth, which related to me because you're kind of growing up, getting ready for that next phase, and pursue righteousness, faith, peace. A lot of similarities to 1 Timothy 12. But the point to me is, along with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. And to me, that just really captured the heart of being in a community, with Christians on a campus meant. I wanted to get involved, to be a part of a community that encouraged me and uplifted me and challenged my faith to grow. And, I would always be distracted by classes, projects, homeworks, parties, but NAV's campus ministry life was a priority for me. And I knew I wouldn't be able to make it if I wasn't involved, so I wanted to get involved and do it. So now you know kind of how I came into faith, the foundation of my faith, a little bit of, being a Christian in college. So now I'm kind of going to talk a little bit about some points the book makes. So the first chapter of the book talks a lot about how the professors you come into contact with, they are smart. Like, we can't through years of schooling, research, writing papers, publishing their articles, years of it, become a PhD professor. Like, there's no denying professors are smart. That doesn't mean they know it. Professors are academically competent. That don't know everything. I know a lot of young Christians can kind of be afraid to maybe get with an older secular professor about matters of faith, because it's like, they studied for years on the, I'm just this Christian and, Christian domus idea. And to be a little afraid, and I would say grow your own faith, because one of the best ways for your own faith to challenge, so that you stand your ground, know what you believe in, be firm in what you believe in. So I just want to encourage you to look at opportunities of challenges of your faith to be opportunities for growth. And to be honest, the first chapter of this book, for my experience, and while it's not everyone's experience and it's not going to be all of your experiences, the first chapter I honestly did not relate to a whole lot. The author, in my opinion, kind of a lot more controlling or like combative in the classroom, scenario. And like my professors were trying to push or trying to get me to believe a certain thing as truth and like real. But to kind of explain the classes you can run into, there's a couple of different types of classes you'll have. You'll have what's called your major classes. So when you declare a major, I was a communications major with a focus in broadcasting. So for me, a lot of classes I had to take were like video editing, news writing, radio programming, comms 101, like a lot of like focused on your subject. So you have your major classes, and then you have your gen eds, math, science, history, stuff like that. I mean, science classes are probably where the most confrontations of faith could come up, when you get into like your biologies and, formation of the earth. And there's just a whole lot there that we can't get into tonight. Then you'll have, at least in Millersville, there are certain classes you have to take that are supposed to like round you out. And for example, I was a comms major, but I had to take at least one engineering class. And I don't understand why. Like, it was the worst class I took. I hated it so much. But I had to take one engineering class. And I mean, for me, we didn't really talk about faith when we were fixing an engine. You know what I mean? And another kind of type to round you out is what's called the perspectives class. And that is a pretty broad, that can fall under what a perspectives class is. That could be a philosophy class or a religion class. I mean, one of the classes I had was straight up called perspectives. And the conversation in that class, that's probably where the most confrontation come up, because like the class, all it was about was race, religion, gender, politics. Pretty much like every hot button issue you could talk about was in this one class. And personally, I don't have a lot of stories I remember from that class that are like really worth sharing. I mean, I remember having amicable conversations with people of opposing views, and we respected each other. And I do remember some people being obnoxious, and that includes some other Christians too. But at the same time, these are just a broad stroke of some of the classes you could run into. It really is dependent on the type of major you choose and the classes you end up taking. I guess like maybe for reference, like how many are seniors like looking at colleges and kind of getting ready for that? Okay, a few seniors, maybe just one senior. Okay. Okay. Oh, okay. All right. So maybe even juniors trying to process that too. I mean, really, any confrontation of faith you could run into in college, it really is probably more dependent on like the major you take and the classes you end up taking with that. And so, a lot of comms classes, we didn't really talk about faith a whole lot. Like there was no reason for it to come up in conversation. So there wasn't a lot that could be used to like bash God or bash faith. In fact, I remember like the opposite. I remember one day in class, we talked about the name of God, Yahweh, and how like the act of saying Yahweh, when you say Yah, it's a breathing in motion, and way is a breathing out motion. Yahweh. And that symbolizes like the spiritual symbolism of God giving breath into Adam. So like we talked about that in a secular communications class. Now, how many of you are familiar with the movie God's Not Dead? All right. Pretty well-known movie. I mean, if you don't know it, the general gist is, this Christian kid goes to college, and, he takes the philosophy class, and the professor is a pronounced atheist, and he makes every student write God is dead on a piece of paper, or he's going to fail them, or whatever. It's pretty ridiculous. Like, honestly, 99.9% of the chance that is not actually going to happen. In fact, a good philosophy professor can't actually ignore conversations about faith and just say God is dead. Because when you look at the history of the world and you see how much of the conversation of society was around faith, like medieval times and the Romans and all that stuff, faith was a crucial part of just society through the years. So there's no way you can just write off God is dead and not talk about faith in philosophy classes. So, I took a couple philosophy classes in college by choice. I find philosophy pretty fascinating and was really interested in it. One of the classes I took was a philosophy and film class, which if you can take that class, I highly recommend it because it's a super easy A. You show up, you watch a movie, and then you talk about it, That was great, super easy. Also, it's a senior level class, and I somehow snuck in as a freshman, so I was even all the better. So I took that class, and then there was another philosophy class I took that was more of just a general philosophy. It didn't have any certain subject of it, but I remember that philosophy class, and that professor was a really good professor. He was a super chill dude, just super down to earth. I remember at one point I started wearing a black wide brim hat, and one day he was like, "That's a nice hat, Mike. I like it." The next day he came to class with a red fedora with black pinstripes and just wore it the rest of the semester. He was about it. He was a super chill dude, and we had great conversations. So in that philosophy class and that professor, I remember him being a good professor and a good philosophy professor because he explored ideas and challenged our schools of thought so that we could be better critical thinkers and be more articulate in expressing what we believe. He wasn't trying to push an agenda. He wasn't trying to get me to believe something else. He wanted us to be able to be more firm in what we believed in, and we could articulate that better. So yeah, he introduced us to different schools of thoughts like existentialism and absurdism and a bunch of different isms that I can't go into tonight that are kind of interesting to talk about. But having my faith grounded from years of youth group and being in a Christian community kept me firm in what I believe, that the Bible is true and all the things that follow from that. And so that's what a good professor should do. He should try to challenge you to be a better thinker about what you believe. And so, for example, one day we had to write the famous "What's the Meaning of Life" essay. And, to be honest, I don't remember what he said about my paper, but I remember acing it because what was important to him was that I could develop a thought-provoking response. It wasn't necessarily about what I believed. It was just, how can I tell you what I believe, firmly and confidently. So, simply put, I wrote that I believe there is a God and that we are created for more than this world has to offer. And just because, we're made for more than this world has to offer, it doesn't mean our time here is purposeless. I should take the opportunity while I'm here to engage with other people and to connect with people and to share God with them so that they can connect with him, in their own way. So basically, I just wrote lyrics to the Switchfoot song "Where I Belong," and I encourage you guys to go listen to it. Shameless plug of my favorite band, but I just wrote the guy's song lyrics of something I believe, that I belong in heaven where I'm supposed to be. But while I'm here, I want to bring as many people as I can with me. So I gave him that in my essay, and he gave me 100 because I could articulate it good enough for him. So we had just great conversations about that. And while I should say, this is just my personal experience, I'm sure somewhere out there are crazy professors who are looking to be confrontational and are abrasive and rude and are looking to put down people of faith. So I can't speak to what you guys are going to go into next, but just from my experience, for whatever it's worth, just wanted to share some experiences I had with professors to maybe put some of those anxieties at ease. My professors, they just expressed and presented ideas that could be of merit or they could not be of merit. And, they were supposed to make us better thinkers, ultimately. And while I didn't always agree with what I was being taught with, it didn't affect what I had believed in the Bible. And so, there's a lot more I could say about my time in college, about what I learned of my own faith while I was there. You're going to meet other kinds of Christians who express their faith differently than you. The first two chapters of the book mostly focused on professor interactions, but a big part of my experience was just interacting with other Christians. I had some clashing moments with Christians who are a little bit more charismatic in their faith. And, I met Christians who comfortably drank underage. I had roommates who were Christians, and they went out and partied. They came back with a hangover. And, some Christians could be just sleeping around casually. You're going to interact with a lot of different types of people and a lot of different types of people of faith. And, a lot of that can be situational. We can't talk about it all tonight. If you find yourself in a situation where you're just like, I don't know how to react to this, or I don't know how to respond, I don't know how to help my friend or help my roommate, try to be a little bit better or try to, help them out of this, if you're looking for advice, you can always hit up Derek, Marcy, a spiritual mentor, someone that kind of been through an experience, just to kind of glean some wisdom from them. It's super important to kind of hear from people that have maybe been through it before. And it's important to think about these things now because, going to college is just, and being away from home is the next small step in being a little bit more independent. So I graduated high school in 2012, and I graduated college in 2016. So I was 22 when I graduated college, and I'm 27 now. And, I'm a little bit more independent than I was even back then. During college, I talked to my mom. I did wash on the weekends at mom's house. And the thing is, when you're in college, you're a little bit more alone. You're a little bit more on your own. You still have the safety net of mom and dad to some degree. But when you're at college, you make and have to own up to your own decisions. So you decide if you want to sleep in and skip that 8 a.m. I have, honestly. It's your choice whether you go to Bible study or go out partying. And it's your choice to find a church to get plugged into or to just stay in your dorm and play video games. So, and it can be easy to get overwhelmed with homework and projects and all these things and push off your devotions. It's important to have grace for those times when that happens. By the end of the day, it's your decision about what you want to do about your faith when you get to college. So my mentor, Dave, says that life is choices. Choices have consequences. Make good choices. A point I want to make from the book is that the world says find truth that validates your preferences, but the Bible says let the truth change your preferences. And so that, as well as the idea of college says to follow your heart and to change your doctrine if necessary, but the Bible says follow my word, God, and your heart will change accordingly. And those two phrases take me back to Psalm 37:4 that says, delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you the desires of your heart. And it's not saying delight yourself in the Lord, and he will give you that car you want, that new game system, that guy or girl you have a crush on. What it's saying is delight yourself in the Lord, and he will become the desire of your heart, and therefore you'll continue to desire him more. Because when we spend intentional time with God, we get consumed and enraptured by him, and it connects our souls in such a satisfying way. I mean, there have been times where, I haven't read my Bible for a week. There have been times, and when I finally go back to it, I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I ever survive a week without reading the Bible? And hearing that worship song that just hits differently that day, you get consumed with that feeling of connection with God. And so it's that personal relationship with Jesus that's going to sustain you. Intentionally dedicating time to that relationship will give you the confidence you need to stand firm against any challenge to your faith you may face in college, whether it's a professor, another Christian, just someone you come into contact with that doesn't know God. And having a community of believers is also vitally important to encouraging your faith to grow and to have accountability and being encouraged by others and being supported. Your time with Jesus and the time you spend with other Christians are the two most important things you can have in college as a Christian.